The experts are wrong. The Republicans are wrong. Commentators, all wrong. It actually turns out that Joe Biden made exactly the right choice when he picked Kamala Harris as his vice president. He picked an absolute lifesaver. Of course, you may laugh, you may cackle. But I repeat, Joe Biden made exactly the right pick with Kamala Harris. For him, that is. The right pick for him, not for America, not for the free world, for him personally. Now, I get what you're probably saying right now. For the rest of us, yeah, Kamala Harris, she's a nightmare. And it's not just that she must be the most irritating, the most grating senior political figure in US politics, with this bizarre habit she has of laughing nervously and inappropriately when she's asked even the simplest question, a serious question even, that she doesn't know how to answer. Like a question on refugees when she flew to Europe to supposedly help out on the Ukraine war.
Okay. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
I can first.
And yes, I also know that that laugh isn't just an annoying, nervous tick. It really is a cover for the most incredible ignorance, ineptitude. I mean, Harris is a woman clearly out of her depth. She's a woman who flew to Singapore when Afghanistan fell to the Taliban and all hell had hit the fan back of the office, and then laughed when she was tracked down.
Hold on. Slow down, everybody.
And there was that same nervous laugh when she was asked why she hadn't visited the Mexican border when that was supposed to be her big priority.
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today.
This whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
And despite everything you just saw, I'm going to say it again. Kamala Harris is exactly the right vice president for Joe Biden. Even though the rest of us are thinking exactly how stupid is this vice president, how dumb, how obviously clueless, even when talking about something so desperately serious as this war in Ukraine, not knowing her left front from her right.
I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies, and what is at stake at this very moment.
I mean, just imagining Kamala Harris in charge of any negotiations with any foreign leaders, let alone with one as tough and vicious as Vladimir Putin. That is terrifying. That's terrifying. And there we have it. There we have the explanation why Harris is a gift to Joe Biden. Because it is terrifying, truly terrifying, to imagine Kamala Harris as President of the United States, as someone who could replace Joe Biden if he couldn't go on anymore. You know, if his brain finally gave out. Imagine this person stepping in as president like Lyndon Johnson did after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And Biden will now be saying, thank God for Kamala Harris. Thank God that no one, and I mean absolutely no one, wants Kamala Harris to take over. Because if they did, if Harris would be any bit as competent as Johnson or, say, any other vice presidents, really, Dick Cheney, George Bush Sr., if she was anywhere in that class, people now would be saying, Joe, look, I'm sorry, move aside. Time's up, partner, move off. Give the job to Kamala Harris. Because here's the tragedy for the United States. It actually has a president who is close to incompetent himself, who's clearly struggling to focus, making terrible mistakes as he struggles with his age. Well, let's be frank, with what seems to be the symptoms of dementia. And if Harris wasn't so absolutely, clearly terrible, more people would be saying, Joe, go. But the fact is that Harris is so terrifyingly incompetent, well, that means we're saying, Joe, stay. Please stay. And I wonder, we've worried before about President Biden's mental decline, his alarming brain fades.
So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
We've also worried about Biden's sudden bursts of anger. It's like some loss of control.
Fewer democracies in the world today than we did 15 years ago. Fewer. Not more, fewer.
And I guess, we could kind of overlook all that sort of stuff when times are easy. A lot of the media did. You can overlook it and think, someone in the staff, they're going to step up. They're going to cover for Biden, we can get through this. But again, this war in Ukraine, that's got to make a lot of us think again about this. I mean, this could be, what we're seeing in Ukraine, the first battle in what actually could be the start of a possible World War III, with Russia backed by China on the one side and democracies on the other. And the stakes here, they're enormous. And you need a leader on the ball. Instead, again and again, you've got Biden, not just looking indecisive in this war, but sometimes confused, rambling, and giving Russian President Putin big propaganda wins with his amazing mistakes. For instance, Biden made just as big a fool of himself as Harris did. 2 examples. First, he actually told US soldiers in Poland that they'd be going to Ukraine over the border. In fact, he said some had already been there, which, if true, Russia would treat as a US declaration of war. US soldiers in Ukraine helping to fight Russians? I mean, listen, here is Biden talking about Ukrainians fighting Russians.
You're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people stand in the middle of front of a damn tank.
Well, that was such a dangerous blunder that Biden's advisors and generals had to rush out and contradict their own president. No, US troops were not going to Ukraine to help fight the Russians, which is kind of a big whoopsie. But Biden didn't do one big mistake. He did 2 on the very same visit. And this second one is actually 2 big mistakes in one, and again shows a president who can't focus and sure can't project strength just when the United States and the rest of the West, they need that most. Now, this blunder came at the end of his big speech in Poland, a sort of angry outburst, and how many is he getting lately? An angry outburst at Russia's President Putin.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Now, again, to say Putin must go really ups the stakes in this war. America demands President Putin go, or else what? It's a big move. Now, maybe you agree with it. I mean, in a way, it's almost obvious that if Putin loses this war, how can he stay? But within minutes of Biden saying that, there was the White House crew out there again with their brooms and their dustpans cleaning up. The US Secretary of State, for instance, saying no, Biden did not say exactly what you just heard. He was not calling for regime change. But you see the real problem with that. In fact, the 2 problems in one. You've got Biden saying Putin must go, and we're told, big mistake. But having made that mistake, then for his staff to say it was indeed a mistake, that actually could be another blunder. Because that first mistake at least made Biden look tough. I want Putin out. The second one the clean-up, that made him look weak. Did I really say that? Oops. And Putin must be laughing. All this is spectacularly bad from a president who's essentially at war, a war president. I mean, he is, the way the United States is frantically propping up Ukraine, essentially attacking Russia through Ukraine with all the weapons that the US and its allies are all sending, and warning China to back off or else. How can you have a leader at war then wandering around saying, you soldiers are going to Ukraine. Sorry, you're not. Putin must go. Oh, sorry, no, my mistake. You can't have that. But the problem is we can't not have Biden. That's the tragedy. Because the alternative, Kamala Harris, is even worse. She makes him look good in comparison. And that is great for Biden. I reckon that's why you're seeing some of these stories sourced from the White House. Oh, look, we're really worried about Kamala Harris. We're trying to put her on the right track and all that. The worse she is, the better it is for Biden. But the rest of us in the free world, from Ukraine to Texas, from Britain to Australia, it's a disaster. What on earth happened to the United States? That the choice of president has come down to this: Biden or Harris. A guy who can't do the job and a woman who, pray God, never gets the chance.